Welcome to another podcast in this series of conversations with harpists from many parts of the world who play many different styles of harps. In this podcast, I'm delighted to have the company of a most inspiring and accomplished artist who will introduce us to two very different harps from her collection. Masumi Nagasawa is a versatile, internationally acclaimed harpist. Masumi was born in Tokyo, Japan, but spent much of her childhood and early education in the Netherlands. Masumi's first harp lessons were with the Japanese harpist Watanabe, and she later studied with Fia Berghout in the Netherlands at the Maastricht Conservatoire. She received her PhD degree from the University of Leeds, England, in 2018. Masumi Nagasawa has a broad repertoire of classical and modern music for the pedal harp and is the leading expert on the European single action harp and the 18th and 19th century harp practice, giving masterclasses in conservatoires and universities all over the world. Masumi has been the recipient of many awards, including the Prix d'Excellence in the Netherlands and the Muramatsu Music Prize Grand Prix in Japan. She has played in many important concert halls in Amsterdam, Tokyo, Budapest, Rome, Copenhagen, Brussels, and many more places. Currently, she teaches both double and single action harps at the University of Music in Detmold, Germany. She is also an active researcher into the history of the ancient kugo, the ancient Japanese harp from the 10th century, which was abandoned for many years but has been receiving a revival recently. I look forward very much indeed to finding out more about this fascinating instrument a little later, but after we discuss her research and fine playing on this single action harp, which was the first form of mechanical harp originating in Germany in the middle of the 18th century and became the favoured instrument of royalty, especially in France. But let's ask Masumi herself about this lovely harp and about the ancient kugo. Well, Masumi, I'd like to welcome you very warmly to this podcast, really, which is being done as a result of the Wales International Harp Festival, and to celebrate the different types of harps that there exist in the world and really spread information as much as we can about the people who play them and about the histories of the instruments and to celebrate them. And we know as harpists that we love them, so we want to make sure that other people come to understand why we love them very much. And so I am delighted to be able to talk to you about your work as a most distinguished harpist. Can we start by just asking you about your background? And then we can go and talk a little about the two different types of harps of which you are expert at, the single action harp in Europe and, of course, the ancient kugo, the ancient harp of Japan. So let's start with you and ask how you started and why.
Yes. Well, actually, I started when I was 12 on the Irish harp because, first of all, it was not the instrument I chose. I started the piano first, but my father heard Mary O'Hara sing and play in Ireland because he was working in Ireland at that time, Holland and Ireland. And then he was so impressed by her singing and her playing, and he loved the harp. And he wanted one of his daughters to play the harp. And I was the oldest of the family. And so he asked in Ireland, actually, if he could purchase an Irish harp and bring it to, first of all, we were still living in Holland at that time. But then the music shop said that, well, actually, there are now Japanese Irish harps built by Aoyama. So why don't you go and find Aoyama harps in Japan when you go back to Japan? So when my father was placed back to Japan as a diplomat, because he was working as a diplomat in Holland when he heard Mary O'Hara. When we went back, he purchased a Japanese Irish harp, and that's why I started playing the harp.
You know, it is so similar to my story because my father
Really?
was the one who started me off as well. And I was the oldest of two girls. And
Oh,
so, you know, we have a lot in common, I feel, about at
lovely.
least the start of us. So
Yes.
then you had lessons in Holland, did you? That's how
No,
you...
the beginning I started with lessons, a few lessons with a Japanese teacher in Japan because I got my Aoyama harp, but she was the first Japanese student of Fia Berghout, Madame Berghout. So, so I had my basic studies with her in Japan, and then I decided to study abroad with Fia Berghout.
Yes. And
So
the name of your first teacher was?
she's called Mari Watanabe.
Oh,
Well, actually, her maiden name was Nagasako. Nagasako. She was in Quakehoven as well,
yes, I know the
and
name well.
and she worked in also as a harpist in Rotterdam for a while.
Wonderful.
Rotterdam.
So wonderful first lessons as well before you
Yes,
went
yes.
on.
I'm very privileged to have had her as my first teacher.
Indeed, a great musician, I think. And then you moved on to the greatest of the Dutch
Oh,
harpists. You're
yes.
very, very lucky.
I was very, very lucky. And I was so young. I had no idea. I still didn't think that I didn't know if I wanted to become a harpist then yet. I was kind of dreaming. And,
Yes.
the only thing I knew was that I wanted to express myself with music, but I did not know if it was the harp or no,
Sure,
or
sure.
so I was kind of still, wondering about. And it was just it made me there was one incident because I was already in the conservatory, and
So you
I,
were about 16, or how old were you?
I just became 17 when I
Right.
came, and then
Yeah.
I went in the conservatory, and then I was still dreaming, and I did not know exactly what to do. And then I had this performance occasion in a church in Maastricht, and I was carrying this small Irish harp. And then suddenly it was like a divine moment that the wind blew through the strings of the
Mm.
harp. And then I was so stunned, and I just stood there, listened to the resonance, and it was most beautiful, profound, and celestial sound. And that struck me, and that is the moment I thought I must become a harpist.
Wow. Well, that's a real catharsis in a way, wasn't it?
Well, it was really something which was a
Yes.
moment I never could
Of
forget.
great truth and wonderful inspiration for you to get really into the harp for many different reasons. And then you became, well, you became a concert harpist, I guess, initially,
Yes,
did you? And
well,
played the classical repertoire?
absolutely. I did my soloist exam, and I did my educational exam, but I also did a prix d'excellence, which was after now I think it's called a master, but you needed to have you had to be chosen, which I was very privileged.
Mm.
And then after I graduated, I was very much into performing classical music, but also very much avant-garde music, actually.
Oh,
Contemporary
yes.
music.
Yes,
So it's
right.
completely different
Yes,
side
to
of
where
the
you
art.
landed up. Yes. So,
Yeah.
when this was in the Amsterdam,
No, it was in Maastricht. Do
in
you remember the
Maastricht, of course,
Maastricht?
forgive
Yes.
me, the
No,
conservatoire
no,
in
no.
Maastricht, of
Yes,
course.
where,
Yes, yes.
yes.
And so, you know, we know you now as the expert on the single action harp. So this was a process that went on for a few years before you really became, you know, sort of concentrating on the single
Yes.
action.
Well, the period of the single action pedal harp was always kind of a gray zone to me.
To us
And
all, I think.
yes, it still is. It still is.
No, not to
And
you.
and well, actually, so when I look back in my life, there were many, many turning points, but somehow it's very strange to see, but Mozart has woven a red thread through,
Mm.
because when I was 1 year old, the first present I got from my family was a LP of a Mozart harp flute concerto played by Lily Laskin and
Oh,
Moïse.
yes, yes.
And so, you know, as a very young girl, I was really much showered by this music. But then I never thought that I would play this music. But in much after, constantly, I was somehow asked to play Mozart concerto, even in my graduation concert and even after that. But the more I played, I always had this question of something felt it was not right, you know, on the modern harp, something was, I didn't understand why the flutist played so fast. And, you know, we were on the stage as a harp and flute, we were almost fighting with each other.
Yeah, well, I understand. Yes, I felt that many times myself.
And the conductor really going very fast, actually. And so I always had this in question. And then one time I encountered in an early music festival symposium in Utrecht, a harp builder called Beat Wolf. He comes from Switzerland, Schaffhausen, and he was showing his prototype of single action pedal harp. I just thought, oh, this is really interesting. So I just plucked on it. And then suddenly something I understood, like, oh, this is the sound concept or the concept of a Mozart, which I thought, oh, I must find out.
Yes.
So I went to his atelier and I decided to order one. And then he also introduced me to other historical musicians and players, which I thought that at that time, because I was so involved in avant-garde music and classical music, and I thought that I could play everything very easily. You know, that's the time when you think like, oh, I just pick up the single action pedal harp and I'll just play all the repertoire, Carl Philipp and Mozart concerto in a week or something like that. But the more I started studying, you know, the summit became
further and further away.
Further and further away. And I thought, oh my goodness, I did not know how to tune. I did not know how to produce a good sound, and everything was kind of, you know, falling down. And then that's the time I told myself, Masumi, this is something very new. You know, you've done classical music, you've done avant-garde music, and this is the zone. Single action pedal harp is a zone which it's very new, and I should discover more.
Yes,
and that made me really start.
Yes.
So the Mozart and the meeting with Beat Wolf, this was a big combination. The question of Mozart and Beat Wolf.
That's almost fatalistic, almost to send, you know, that you were kind of meeting at that time, and it was your role to look at the single action and to develop it in our age. And rediscover its enormous wealth of music. And, you know, when it was the instrument of the most privileged people in Europe, I guess, wasn't it, really?
Yes.
And then it must feel like a great privilege to be able to go back to that wealth of music. So what were the aspects, really, of taking on, you know, the single action harp and really working on it that really made the most difference to your interpretation of the music of the period?
First of all, I learned that a beautiful sound will not come with playing with force, because you have to be very much relaxed. And that's, of course, with the modern harp as well. But still, when you play on a more fragile instrument, and you really have to learn from the instrument that you cannot play like with this different kind of way of using the muscles. So that's one thing. But this caused me to listen much more to my own sound, and to listen was the most important thing I learned. It's so strange, because listening is actually, you do it also, of course, as a musician. You think that you're doing it all the time, but I became much more aware of what kind of sound I was producing, and that led me to what kind of fingering I was taking, because the fingering was producing a lot of phrasings, and all this combination made me study deeper.
Yes,
That's
I have. Yes,
Mhm.
I can sympathize and empathize in a way, because I've done a little work on the triple harp, and because,
Yes.
you know, here in Wales we have a lot of music, and it's actually the same period, isn't it? It's John
Yes.
Parry for us in Wales,
Yes.
and later, a little later, Edward Jones, the King's Harpist, Bardd y Brenin. But, you know, I've always thought that you need to be educated by the harp itself.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the music that has been published, you know, we are
Yes.
privileged in that there is music. And
Yes.
therefore, if they could do it in their period, then, well, why can't we do the same?
Yes.
You know, and sometimes I think they were really very clever in able to playing the harp in the triple harp in particular, very fast. But I
Yes.
mean, you know, it is a challenge, and it's a very wonderful challenge.
Absolutely.
So
But
you had the
also,
same
yes.
attitude. Mhm.
And also, I learned that there were so many method books written in the 18th and the early 19th century, because
Really?
I could read about more than 40 harp method books.
What? Really?
Yes,
So
yes,
many?
so many.
What?
You know, yeah, if you imagine that in around end of 18th century, or if only in Paris there were 16 harp builders and more than 59 harp teachers, instructors were listed.
Just
So
in Paris,
was
just in Paris.
just in Paris. So
Gosh.
it's amazing period, actually, but we kind of forgot it. And also these method books, it's amazing, because the first pedal harp method book is from 1763 by Philip Mayer, Jacques
Yes.
Philippe Mayer, which is
Yes.
amazing, because that is around the same time as Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach.
Mhm.
And it just gives really insight into what harpists were playing. And also, when you want to play, of course, Carl Philipp, but also Mozart concerto, you also you learn that Krumholtz was also active in
Yes.
Paris, and he wrote also 12 preludes to Mademoiselle de Guignes, who actually this
Yes.
concerto was written for. I mean, if you
Yes.
all start looking at these things, they all start making this
Links together.
links through. And so I dived into these method books, and it was also they were teaching a lot of fingerings, and also they gave examples of embellishments, and that was very useful to know. But when sometimes you think that historical method books gives rules, but I didn't find that there were rules to restrict you. It was to give more vocabulary, to enrich your vocabulary, actually. So this is a very different way to see, like, oh, all these rules from the embellishments and so. But it was not about restriction. It was about freedom in speech. How more you can.
And of course, it is, well, the two things. It's the age of enlightenment, for starters, when education was really very important. And also in France, we mustn't forget that it was the Queen, Marie Antoinette herself, who was really the great role model, I believe, wasn't she? Can you say that?
Many of the noble ladies did play the harp.
Yes.
So I think it was almost, I think it was the instrument which was really played much. And that's why there were many harp builders.
Yes, and then, of course, when the French Revolution happened, they dispersed enormously. And so a lot came over to London and set up their offices, their workshops, and their expertise and teaching in London. And, that is where it eventually came through to Wales, but that took a longer time. But, it's a fascinating period, isn't it, of that?
It's absolutely fascinating period. And I really hope that we can revive this period to understand what we are doing now, because I think how can I say? I think we kind of think that the instruments, the modern harps now, have perfected its evolution, that the single action pedal harp was a prototype of but actually it's not, because you cannot compare a harpsichord and a pianoforte and a piano. They are all different instruments with a different character.
And they have a worlds of their own, really, don't they?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I think we should see it like that, that we shouldn't see it as an imperfect instrument, which actually it was described by a certain harp instructor. Like, finally, we reached a time of the double action harp, and single action harp was actually an imperfect instrument. But that is only because they wanted to sell the double action pedal harp.
Of course.
The newest model, of course.
All comers. So, you know, some of the single action harps themselves, there's quite a long period when they were started. I mean, you have a harp from 1750s that was made by...
the oldest harp I have, which is standing here.
Right.
She's from 1771,
right.
Made by Naderman. Which is actually, he was one of the queens, Marie Antoinette's harp builder. There were two, Cousineau and Naderman, Jean-Henri Naderman. And I'm very happy with it because it's totally original. No, the soundboard is original, the neck is original, and Beat Wolf did the restoration,
the mechanism,
cleaned it, and the stringing is important. So
it is magnificent, and it's also very, to me, quite lovely because it doesn't have the gilding and the gold on it. You know, you have the wood.
It is light, you know. I can just hold it, and it's.
Yes, it's lovely. Yeah, we need a better system of sound, I think, to get the beauty of that sound. But it's light, but it's I've listened to some of your recordings, and I am amazed at how warm the sound is also. And it's beautiful, and it's got a singing quality, hasn't it? That's really
I think
gorgeous.
You have to communicate with your instrument also very well to be very nice to it.
Yes, I notice you have the soul in some of your, it is the instrument that you have to play from your soul, in the same way as we say in Welsh, that the language of the soul is on the strings of the harp. That's it. You have to come.
I really feel that.
Yes.
Yes, and maybe that is also the one thing I learned, as you said, about by delving into the historical performance and playing, that when I read like Carl Philipp Emanuel's treatise and Quantz and others, you know, later Turk, even the singers' treatise, and so they were also telling about how important it is to sing with your soul, as you say. But also that of course the notes are important, but notes are it's just a guideline, you know, because it's you have to enhance the music, and also you have to how can I say it? Well, I love the word which Kwan said, that you make yourself masters of the hearts.
The heart, not the harp. Well, if you're master of the harp, you then
the heart, which is really wonderful, because it is about delivering a musical language. I think you have to deliver, and that's what I always think. And the sentiment, what you're playing, does it come through your strings and, you know, from your soul? And so I think that's what I became more aware of, and the instrument has taught me so. But also reading the treatise, it was not only about rules, but more about how what was behind it, what was behind the notes that we should be more aware of.
Indeed.
But I'm sorry, I went off the track because you were asking about instruments. And
yes, of course. You have so many of them. And do you have a harp with the 8th pedal on it, which some people find quite fascinating?
Yes, I do. Yes.
But
yes, I have an Erard, just as the one you have behind you. I think that's an Erard.
This is an Erard, a double action Erard here.
Yes,
it looks as if it's got a a bent pillar, but it's not. It's something on the camera, I think, that makes it
Yeah,
look bent.
but mine is also, I think it's about the same time. Do you see it there?
Yes, I do. Yes, indeed.
But this one is actually, as I was talking 1771, the oldest one I have. The one next to it is 1815, another man also from the son of Nadaman. So they are father and son. I just made a CD actually with father and son.
Oh,
so
how lovely.
It will come out next year, because I wanted to record the standards, like the Carl Philipp and Sofia Kory-Duszek's sonata and Krumfolt's. So I thought that it would be really nice to record it on the original instruments. And
fantastic. So they made the harps at the same time as Sebastian Erard was also making harps in Paris, I guess.
Well, the first Sebastian Erard was a little bit much later, because these harps are much the scroll ones are much earlier ones.
Yes, of course, but they went on later. The son probably was the one who
the son took over the atelier of the father. And so I have, you can see there are lots of harps there.
Oh, that is a treasure trove. My goodness.
I don't know, they multiply by itself, by themselves.
Oh, yes.
It seems like. Yes, and there are many staying with me, so it's very nice. I got to have a nice conversation with them time to time.
You have a family of harps in the same way. I have a few as well, but this is amazing what you have there. And they're all played, and they're all playable, and they're all perfectly tuned, I'm sure, aren't they? Have you got a favorite, or are they... Do you have a favorite of them?
I must say, I have to be very careful to say which is my favorite, because they listen. No, it's true. So I know if I choose an instrument, which I have to do a recording, of course, then you are focused on an instrument. And then when I come back to, let's say, an Erard harp or so, and I've done the recording on these two lately. And then I think, oh dear, this Erard harp, my Erard harp is bit being low.
Oh yeah, well there we go.
You know that,
yes, I do. Because when I go back to one of my triple harps, I mean, if I have not played it for a while, then she really complains. And I'm fascinated also, I read that you call the harp a she, like we do. We have the gender thing in the Welsh language. And so we say the harp is always a feminine.
I see.
In the same way as I noticed in some of your publicity thing, you call her the she, does this.
Yes, because I also gave names, because I say, oh, Marie, oh, Felicity, you know, oh.
That's right.
Louise,
yes, whereas one of my harps, certainly the more modern concert harp, are a bit more masculine. So one is called Max, but then it just means that Horn Gachar actually made it, and he was Max. So, but that's fascinating. So what aspect of the modern harp, if any, do you miss when you play the single action? Do you miss anything, or are you so engrossed into the world of the single action that you are aware of?
As I say, first to come back to that, my favorite is always the harp which I'm playing now. So if I'm working on a piece on a modern concert harp, then that's my favorite. Then of course, because then I'm playing Fauré or Chatelaine, and then when I play I can't play Chatelaine, which I love the piece so very much, on the single action pedal harp. So then the aspects, I think that the modern harps the volume got much richer, and it's much more creamier kind of sound. Whereas the single action pedal harp has much more distinct silvery kind of
sound
resonance.
Yes, and of course being played in smaller rooms with smaller congregations or audiences, you know, they didn't need to project in the same way as the modern concert harp has when played in big concert halls.
Yes, and big orchestras also.
And exactly. Well, you know, I'm fascinated by this, but I am aware also that we need to talk about another very special instrument that you play, and which is the other aspect of your life in many ways. And so this, of course, is the very ancient Japanese harp, the kugo.
Yes.
You know, I'm delighted that you were willing to talk to me about your story with Kugo and tell us a little bit of its history. And then perhaps we can break a little so that you can show it a little bit. But let's talk about it first, shall we? And tell us why and where and how you got into all that.
I think that first of all, when Kugo is not so much known, even for Japanese people, because it's not a common instrument. You know, the koto, which is like this laying instrument, like a sitar or a psaltery, that is more common. So koto, you can also buy it in a music instrument shops, but kugo not, because it was not even, it survived barely. It was first of all, the kugo, the ancient kugo came through the China, Korea, and then to Japan in the 8th century. And through the Silk Road. Also, around that time, amazing culture was flourishing in Japan, and many musical instruments, but also world music was coming to Japan. Music from Persia, music from India, music from Vietnam, Korea, China, they were arriving so much. But after that, some of these instruments have been I shouldn't say categorized, but some instruments remained as a Japanese court music instrument, but the ones actually who had less sound, they kind of disappeared, like the and you know, the Japanese court music, with this mouth organ and with the reed instrument and with the flute, they have to play outside. So these instruments with the big sound remained, and the other instruments which came at 8th century, the ones which were much more with intimate sound, they kind of disappeared. And they were put into this treasury repository. How do you call it? Treasury repository? Is it
repository? Probably
repository.
Repository. I don't know. I'm learning everything. I know nothing about
treasury repository of a temple in Nara, and it was kept for thousands of years. And around the beginning of the 19th century, they opened this place, and they saw that these instruments which were kept there, they wanted to reconstruct it again. So they started reconstructing, but only as a art a designed instrument and not to be played. But after that, in 1980, they said it's such a pity, because these instruments came not as a decorative items, but they came as an instrument. So let us try to make these instruments playable. So around 1980, the kugo was also reconstructed again, and really thought out from the fragments they found. They kind of reconstructed, and they made an instrument for the National Theatre to be able to demonstrate how the kugo was. That was about the first time. But of course, then, first of all, nobody knew how it was played. There was nobody, because they only said that's a Japanese ancient harp. Well, it is definitely a harp, because it's a two-cornered angular harp, which resembles the Assyrian harp. But nobody, it didn't exist in Japan for such a long time. It was it was stored.
Yes.
So I was asked by the National Theatre. They wanted to do a kind of revival music of that time, and they asked me if I wanted to try on the newly rebuilt replica of the kugo, and see what I could produce from it. So that was the beginning, around 1980.
That is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
that must have been an extraordinary experience for you.
It was because it was very difficult, since there was no any example how you should play or how it was tuned or so. But I was put into this ancient music group in Japan. They were playing court music and old music of China and Korea, and so I was very privileged to work with them.
Yeah. Well, how did you start? I mean, how did you know that presumably the harp maker had produced some kind of strings? Were they silk or were they?
They are silk. Their mines are still silk.
Yes, so which is the same as the Myanmar, the Burmese harp as well.
Yeah, so it's twisted silk, which is hardened by rice glue or animal glue, which we are using, and we have some iconography of how they were sitting.
Yes, okay. And you would know what kind of sounds they would produce then?
No, not really. But in our group, in our ancient music group, the leader, he was researching an old Japanese lute manuscript, which was also found in the treasure repository, and he made from the fragment. He made some kind of music, which probably it must have sounded like that. So then he started transcribing for other instruments of that period, so that we could have an ensemble. And that's how we started. So it was really like trying and experiencing and trying to find a sound. So it was working together then with these musicians.
So there's lots of cross-fertilization or cross ideas coming from history of lots of different aspects of music. And
yes.
And also from other Eastern Oriental countries, was influence from places like you mentioned, Korea and China, maybe China.
Yes, yes. And even, as I said, that Vietnam music came also in Japan in the 8th century. And there were also influence of Persian music as well. So it's a very interesting period.
Yes, and this is because of the Silk Road and all of the trade that went, and the musicians would travel as well as whatever else traveled, the spices or things. So that is fascinating. And so you reconstructed the music. And are there any more developments now? Still going?
We're trying still. Well, the thing is that I don't know. I didn't do any research on the manuscript, so I don't know how it sounded. It's very difficult, but this leader was the main person who was leading us. And I was just wondering how it was played. And until I think last year, because I was not really concentrating a lot on the research, but last year I was asked by the American Historical Harp Society if I could do a lecture on the kugo. Then I thought, okay, well, I would like to know more about myself to have a concrete picture of it. So I started this, and then I also started making much more contact with the scholars. So not musicians, but scholarly research, so I can have much more kind of a background. And it just started. There are none of these done for the kugo still in Japan. And there are only maybe up until now like 4 or 5 players. But it's not, because there's no music, it's very difficult to, I can only say probably they must have played like that. They have a lot of, they've played it on their left shoulder like the Welsh harp did. So, and also when you play high, they must have put their hands up. All kind of things you can imagine. But until now, it's 2,200 years ago, so it's very difficult to find.
It is a really ancient tradition, isn't it?
It is very ancient.
That really died, and it's been revived and getting interested.
We're trying. The only difficulty is that there is not a builder. You see, like koto, it's very popular amongst. You have music, you have ensembles, written down notes, and there are builders. But like kugo, there are not, you have to ask especially to build this kind of instrument, and there are not musical notes.
No. So where, in terms of historical periods, where did the koto take over from the kugo? When did that happen?
I think already the koto, also the instrument has been was there also in the around the period when kugo was there. So 8th century, there was this similar type of smaller type of instrument. So, but that survived. Probably, maybe it was easier to maintain.
Yes.
Because koto, this is my guess. Koto is the strings are strung on a wooden
on a table, like in front of you.
Yes, exactly. So it's more stable, as the kugo is an open string.
Yes.
And especially it doesn't have a pillar. So it's very dangerous that it can clap, you know.
Yes. Well, can we have a look at the kugo? I think we'll just take a little break. So when you come back, we can see the kugo. Yes, this is it. Now then, we can see the top very well, but can you go a little bit further away? Yeah, and again, I can't see the bottom of it at all. Oh no, of course. Is it very heavy? Well, I'll ask these questions.
So if I would play, let me see if I can put my camera a little bit down and then make.
We can see the.
I would play like this.
Ah, yes. So you play very near the bottom, which you call this is what you call the different parts of the harp now then.
This is the arm.
The string arm, yes. Shell. The sound board. So can we see the top? I can't quite see the top of the instrument.
It's very much like.
Just comes to an there we are. It's it's like one of our harps turned upside down almost, isn't it? It's got the sound box in the air.
Like this. Let's see, like this. It's like a boat.
Yes, like a boat, which is very simple. Yeah, there are quite a few of those in the Orient, aren't they?
So I think if you see the Burmese
boat harp,
this part from the soundboard is in one arch.
Yes.
But the distinct difference with that is that this is built in two parts. The arm and the soundboard is separate.
Yes.
It's one and two.
But missing, as you say, the pillar in the front, which probably makes it weaker, doesn't it, in a sense?
Yes, yes.
The string tension isn't very high, is it? It's not very tense.
It's supposed to be tuned in different music, so you have to retune it many times. Oh, sorry, excuse me.
So you need to play near the soundboard with your left hand.
Well, I also go very much here, because you're carrying it on this shoulder. Then I'm playing it, and I can also.
And is it tuned diatonically or?
I'm sorry, it's very bad.
Is it tuned? How is it tuned?
It is tuned in many different Chinese
scales,
different tones, scales. Yes. So this is one of it, which is not. Sorry, I mean it's not really in good tune. But then if there's another music played, if I have to play an ensemble, then they give me which key I have to be tuned.
Oh, yes.
Each time it's different. That's why there's not a red, blue strings and on it.
Yes. So it's tuned in the old scales and yes, and there's similar in many older instruments. I think we have similarities with our medieval Welsh harp as well, but that's much smaller than that, which I'm quite surprised by the size of the kugo. I didn't realize it was so big.
Different sizes. There are different sizes, I'm sure. But this one was built upon the structure of the one which was found in the in the temple from the 8th century in the treasure repository and storage place. But I know one kugo in Japan which is slightly smaller, and I'm sure that there were many different sizes.
Sure. Is it similar to some of the harps that we know existed in the pyramids in Egypt, for example, or is it totally different?
Well, if you see in the British museum,
yeah.
Yes, if you go to the, excuse me, I have to put this back. It's quite unstable, you see, so that's
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you go to the museum in London, then the reliefs of the Assyrian,
yes. Similar to that, indeed.
Yeah.
So it's the wood, the other parts of it are made from wood found in Japan, presumably.
Yes. Paulownia wood, and also with persimmon wood, kaki. I don't know, this is a fruit tree which grows in Japan.
Oh. Well, this is all really fascinating and wonderful that you are doing this research into it.
It's going to take a while to really. I just thought.
Yeah, you have already recorded something, have you, on the kugo?
Yes, I have, because one contemporary composer had composed a piece for the ancient musical instrument group. So we did a recording of that, but I haven't had an occasion yet to do a solo piece for. Recording. I have played some solo pieces.
But so far as we know, this harp would have been used in court circles or in rich people's houses, maybe?
I think it was, yes, I'm sure it was. But since the sound was not so big as the other instruments which survived in our court music, it disappeared.
Yes, of course. Yes. But yes, and then well, this is all really wonderful, and it's and the most important thing for me is that we made contact with you, is that we now got to know you personally, which is wonderful.
I wish I could tell more about the kugo, and I am going to do much more research on it, because next year in Germany, in Berlin, they asked me to also do a lecture on it, so I'm going to work on it.
Great.
And well, at this moment, I might come back to single action pedal harp, but I'm working on the Spohr edition, which
I wanted to ask you. Sorry, I forgot to ask you about that, because that's one of the pieces I love, and I play it on on my single action, and always kind of what is it? And I know historically it must have been what Dorette Scheidler played on it on the single action, but it is right. So how the tuning, you use lots of enharmonic changes when one place in particular where you need a D flat, and your harp is tuned in E flat major.
Yes, well, actually, it's amazing. I've played also the Fantasie, and of course the other solo variations, but also I played the Opus 113, 14, 15 for the violin and harp.
Right.
Very, very difficult.
They are very difficult. I play
they're very
those.
difficult.
Yes, they are.
And they are all written for the single action pedal harp. Yeah. And Dorette, yes, it's amazing.
Yeah, but and that was what she gave up to playing the harp, because she found it too hard. And this is why, I guess, her husband was really.
Yes, well, actually, she was a super brilliant harpist.
Yes,
because I'm going to write about it. I did write about it in addition, but she also used incredible technique of pedal techniques, which are double pedaling, triple pedaling, lifting up the pedals, balancing your feet up and down. This is really amazing, like the jazz harpists do.
Yes, of course.
Amazing. And if you play these concertantes, you understand, what kind of technique she must have been using.
Yeah.
And well, I have been working on this edition for quite a long time. So I hope that it will be interesting for many harpists, because it talks about the style of what kind of style we should approach, to play the spoor. And I'm also suggesting some fingerings, which is coming from Backhoven's method books, because Backhoven was a teacher of Dorette Scheidler, Dorette. So it just gives an insight of what kind of fingerings she must have been using. So these are all the things which I explain in this new edition. So, and also like how the tempo must have been, how the arpeggios, how the étouffée, I mean, all kinds of different issues. I'm dealing it in this edition. So,
wonderful. Oh, I look forward to it enormously. I really do.
I will send it to you. It's
yes, thank you.
I just heard it yesterday that they plan to have it released first in January. It's going to be internationally going to be possible to purchase from 16th of January or something like that. Lovely. But I don't know. I hope so.
Lovely New Year's Day for New Year's present for people. They're a fantastic thing to have. I look forward. Yeah, because I've been working on several editions, and none of them really make sense.
It's very interesting. No, yes. It's very. I really enjoyed looking to different editions, because John Thomas,
yes.
Holy, a single, all these editions. Yeah. I enjoyed immensely to look into them and seeing what they did.
Yeah. Where is the original copy that you have been working from?
It's in Berlin. You can get the earliest edition by Simrock from Berlin, Library of Berlin. And I would say to many of my harp students and teachers that you can just get it from there. And then hopefully that my edition would be a kind of a help to aid to understand.
Indeed.
The playing way.
Indeed. Well, this has been an exceptionally interesting and informative and inspiring hour. Really, I could go on for many, many hours.
I must tell you also something, because it was the first time that I went to visit Cardiff. I mean, I was at
the World Harp Congress, yes.
And I was very much impressed to listen to of course, the Welsh harpist, but also I'm talking about that there was this lecture about Ossian Ellis, and then he was playing and singing, and I thought, oh, that's why Welsh people are so musical, because they were singing and playing at the same time, and also it was amazing, because he was singing on top of the chords, his voice was singing freely on top of the chords he was playing. And this is all music, because it's not at all vertical music,
no,
which
absolutely.
Is now so getting metronomical and digital.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a great master of the harp and of harp singing which we call cerdant, or penillion singing, as he would call it, which is the singing of verses to a tune. It's not an accompaniment. There are two voices.
No.
It's the harp plays a tune, sings a tune. Would you like to singing the harp in Welsh? Canu'r delyn is the Welsh for singing the harp. Never play it. No, you sing it. And so you have the voice, which is it's a polyphonic in a way, isn't it? Two voices singing at the same time.
Yes.
There are many rules, but the rules come in mainly from the point of view of the poetry, because you have to be very respectful of the poetry, know all the very intricate rules that govern the writing of strict metrical verse in Welsh. That is a totally different world in itself.
But poetry is so important.
Yes.
I mean, we are also delivering the musical language. How you deliver, as I said in the beginning, the sentiment, and how we are communicating with the listeners. It's so important how we deliver it.
I know, and the poetry, certainly in our culture, I mean, the Welsh harp music or singing or poetry to the harp has gone back a long, long time, back into the Middle Ages. Not so long as the history of the kugo in Japan, but certainly it's a long history in Wales. And, you know, we treasure it. And the Welsh language is a minority language. We treasure all our culture very much. And we want to share it as much as we can with people like you who really are
I'm very much interested. I'm
very sensitive and understand the importance of the harp and the ancient traditions that go with it.
I think also the flow of the language and where you pause, make the pause, the breathing moment. I mean, this is so natural. So I think we have to reflect it into the music.
Yes, yes. Oh, there we go. I mean, every country has its music, its poetry, its culture, and many countries are blessed with a harp as well. Not everyone, I guess, but we know that it's there in the ancient traditions of many places.
I'm very happy that harp is an ancient instrument.
Yes, and in different styles, but it comes down to a string being plucked on wooden boxes.
And also still with our bare hands. I think that's wonderful because we don't have anything like a bow, or we don't have anything in between. It just comes straight, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think that hasn't changed in thousands of years, that we were tugging our strings with our bare hands. I love that.
Or nails, as the case may be sometimes.
Oh, yes, sometimes, of course.
Sometimes. Well, there we go. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Masumi. It has been a great, great hour for me. Thank you.
And I
hope that we'll meet again. And I really look forward to working on this, or your Spore edition.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Elinor.
So, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Keep well.
Bye. Yes, thank you.